If you're 36 years old and you feel like you're behind on money, I need you to hear something. You're not behind because you wasted time. You're behind because nobody taught you the one formula that actually matters. And tonight I'm going to give it to you. Because the psychology of money isn't really about spreadsheets or stock picks. It's about the invisible stories running in your head that silently decide whether you build wealth or stay stuck. And once you see those stories for what they are, everything changes. Morgan Housel wrote a book called The Psychology of Money, and the core thesis is deceptively simple. Doing well with money has almost nothing to do with how smart you are and almost everything to do with how you behave. That sounds soft. It sounds like a greeting card. But when you run the numbers, it's the hardest truth in personal finance. Let me show you what I mean. There's a guy named Ronald Red. He was a janitor in Vermont. He fixed cars on the side. He never earned more than about $30,000 a year in his life. When he died at age 92, his estate was worth $8 million. And then there's Richard Foscone. Harvard-educated, former Merrill Lynch executive, retired into a $12 million home in Greenwich, Connecticut. He went bankrupt. Same country, same stock market, same decades, wildly different outcomes. The difference wasn't intelligence or access, it was behavior. Ronald Red was patient and consistent. He bought blue-chip stocks and never sold them. He lived below his means every single year for decades. Foscone leveraged himself into a lifestyle that required everything to go right forever. And the moment something didn't, it all collapsed. This is the first lesson. Wealth isn't about income. It's about the gap between what you earn and what you spend, multiplied by time. And time is the variable most people completely underestimate. Here's where the math gets wild. Let's say you're 36 and you start putting $500 a month into a broad index fund like an S&P 500 fund. You earn an average of 7% per year after inflation. By age 65, that's roughly $580,000. You didn't put in $580,000. You put in about $174,000 over 29 years. The rest, more than $400,000, came from compounding. Your money made more money than you did. That's not a trick. That's just what happens when you give compound interest enough time to work. But here's the part Housel really nails. The reason most people don't get that outcome isn't because they can't do the math. It's because their psychology gets in the way. They panic sell during a crash. They inflate their lifestyle every time they get a raise. They compare themselves to their neighbor's new truck instead of comparing themselves to their own plan. The money isn't the hard part. You are the hard part. Let me give you a framework that might change how you think about every financial decision you make from tonight forward. It's called the 4% rule, and even though it was designed for retirement, it works beautifully as a planning tool right now. Take the annual income you'd need to feel financially free. Let's say that's $60,000 a year. Now divide that by 0.04. That gives you $1.5 million. That's your number. That's the invested wealth you need to likely never have to work again. Once you know that number, every decision gets simpler. That extra $400 a month you're spending on a car payment you didn't need to take on, that's not $400. Over 20 years at 7%, that's roughly $208,000 in lost future wealth. When you see spending through that lens, you don't need willpower. You need math. Now here's where I don't want you to spiral. If your number is 1.5 million and you've currently got 80,000 in your 401k, the gap feels enormous. I get it. But remember Ronald Read. He didn't start with some advantage. He started with a decision. And the earlier you make that decision with full clarity, the more time does the heavy lifting for you. There's a concept Housel talks about called tail events. In investing, a tiny number of days account for the vast majority of returns. If you missed just the 10 best days in the S&P 500 over the last 20 years, your returns would have been cut roughly in half. This matters because people who try to time the market, who sell when things feel scary and buy when things feel safe, almost always miss those days. The cost of panic isn't just emotional. It's measured in hundreds of thousands of dollars over a lifetime. So what do you actually do with all of this tonight? 3 things. First, calculate your number. Take what you'd need annually in retirement, divide by 0.04, and write it down. Put it where you'll see it. That number isn't a fantasy. It's a target with math behind it. Second, automate the gap. Whatever you can put toward investments each month, automate it so it leaves your checking account before you ever see it. Behavioral finance research shows over and over that people who automate contributions stay invested through downturns because they forget it's happening. That forgetfulness is a feature, not a bug. Third, define your enough. This is the most important one, and it's the most psychological. Housel's entire book builds toward this idea. The most dangerous financial condition in America isn't poverty. It's the absence of enough. It's the person making $200,000 a year who still feels broke because their lifestyle expanded to $210,000 in spending. If you don't define what enough looks like for your family, the goalpost will move forever and you'll never feel wealthy no matter what your account says. Here's what I want to leave you with. You're 36. You probably have nearly 30 years of compounding ahead of you. The math absolutely still works. But the math only works if your behavior lets it. Every chapter of the psychology of money is really saying the same thing in different ways. Get out of your own way. Stop optimizing for looking rich and start optimizing for being free. Freedom means waking up and knowing that your time belongs to you. Not to a boss, not to a lender, not to a lifestyle you built to impress people you don't even like. Ronald Read understood that. He drove a used car. He wore a coat he'd had for years, and he died with more money than most executives. Not because he was lucky, because he was consistent and he knew what enough meant for him. You don't need a new strategy. You don't need to pick the right stock. You need to pick a number, automate the behavior, and protect your plan from the only real threat it has, which is you on a bad day deciding to abandon it. The psychology of money isn't about money at all. It's about patience, identity, and knowing what game you're actually playing. And now you know. So the only question left is what you're going to do about it starting tomorrow morning.